Raquel, can you tell us a little bit about your transition to home with feeding? I think sometimes before a parent goes home, they might think once we go home, it's all going to be set. But as you know, that's not when the feeding journey ends. So, what would you tell parents about your experience or about how to prepare for that transition home with feeding?
So it was definitely challenging. Like I said, I had two of my babies who still struggle with feeding to this day. And so being an advocate for your children is always going to be the most important thing. And I could sense that there was something off. We had changed some of the formulas that we were having. But I noticed Amaya was still aspirating on the milk. And so it became a problem for us. So we did see some specialists. We eventually went to see GI. Um, and so we had to change the formula one more time where we did swallow studies and we saw that she was aspirating even on formula. And so she wasn't gaining weight. And it was just a cycle of she doesn't gain weight, well, she's not feeding well. And so, well, what's the problem? It's just like a never ending cycle. And it was very important for me to, hey, just because they're out of the NICU and they're home doesn't mean, the challenges are over. If anything, you start to discover new challenges, and you no longer have the medical experts there. And so you have to become their voice. And hey, is it time to see a specialist? Get an opinion, get a second opinion. And so thankfully, after probably a month and a half after she came home, we finally were able to put her on a good formula that, she can take and she can gain weight. And so it took time, but we got there. It was just more of the trust yourself. If something
Mhm.
seems wrong, or you are not sure about it, go ahead and seek the help that you need.
Did they all come home at the same time, Raquel, or was it based on their development? Did they come home at different
Yeah, it
times?
was definitely based on their development. So Royce was, like I said, he had no medical issues, no transfusions, no surgeries. I mean, you would have never thought he was born at 26 weeks. He came home at 79 days. Then Denzel came
Wow.
home at 100 days, Maya at 105, and Bryson came home at 124 days.
What about now? What are some of their favorite foods that they eat?
They are still on formula on Dr. Brown's bottles,
Okay.
even at a year. Like I said, we have had a lot of feeding issues, and so now we are going to be seeing feeding therapists. They have not progressed much on the solids. And so, first opinion was like, hey, that's completely normal. They were born so premature. Your babies are only 8 months adjusted, even though they're a year old. But even with everything we have tried with solids, the moment that solids, you know, go into their mouth, it's completely being thrown up. And so I did not think that was safe and or normal. So we are now working on seeing a feeding therapist. But the doctor said it's completely okay for them to be 100% on formula. They are taking their milk perfectly, and they're gaining weight. So if that is working, let's go ahead and stick with that until we find, a better route for their solid feeding.
Right. And often that we know that sometimes those feeding experiences in the NICU can affect later feedings.
Yeah, and I always tell parents, don't let society or the internet tell you where your baby needs to be. Give your baby grace. And that's something that, even the internet will be like, why are your kids not walking? And I'm like, you got to understand the journey that my babies have been through, to know, like, I am beyond blessed where my babies are today. They may not be where society thinks they should be. They've come a long way, and I will continue to give them time.
Yeah, definitely miracles. And like you said, every baby develops at a different pace, and we need to respect their cues and what they're telling us about their own little individual people. So
Yes.